Welcome to another exciting episode of 60 Plus Uncensored, the show where we have real, unfiltered conversations with people over 60 or close to it who are still working, growing, living with purpose, and refusing to fade quietly into the background. I'm your host, Seb Fry, and today's guest is someone who's not just redefining fitness, he's reshaping the way we think about movement, longevity, aging, and human potential. Joining us is Rocky Snyder, a renowned strength coach, author, podcast host, and founder of the Zelos podcast. With decades of experience helping everyone from pro athletes to everyday warriors optimize their bodies and brains, Rocky brings a unique, science backed, and unapologetically honest approach to health, aging, and performance. Get ready for a no holds barred conversation about staying strong, sharp, and fully alive, no matter what decade you're in. Rocky, thanks so much for being here.
Seb, it's an honor. I'm just happy that you invited me on. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Right on. So, not everybody knows who you are, so maybe you could just give us a little intro. Who is Rocky Snyder?
I have been a fitness professional. I could say personal trainer, but there's many different avenues in which I pursue strength conditioning specialist, corrective exercise, or whatnot. But on the Central Coast of California, my headquarters are right here in Santa Cruz, California. I've been in business. Well, I've been a professional since the early 90s and have had my own training facility in Santa Cruz for the last 30 years. So I go on the road and present to younger trainers and the medical and training staff at different sports teams and the like. But I call the Central Coast my home. And if you can't find me in the gym, you'll find me on the waves.
All right, very, very good. So, 30 years you've been at this. So, how old are you today?
Today I am 57. At the end of September, yeah, I'll celebrate one more year around the sun. So I'm closing in on that demographic you speak of, the 60 and older. I guess I'm still a spring chicken when it comes to that.
Right. Well, I myself am a little bit younger than you. I'm only 54, but like a lot of my clients are over, actually, most of my clients, I would say, are over 60 these days. And I believe many of the people that you work with are also over 60. Is that right?
Yes, I mean, most of the people that we see here in person and the clients that we have online spread out across the country or actually internationally are those that are looking to have longevity be their priority. And they've gone through the mating season of life, they've built families and businesses, and now they're into the idea of maybe I don't want to slow down, but I want to change gears, and I need my body to be there for me. And so that's what I help do. I help encourage them, and I guess some people call me the hope provider. I provide hope to people that didn't think they could get out of pain, and then I can provide encouragement to get them beyond that into a place where they don't even think about that, but they're on the floor playing with their grandkids, or they're going horseback riding, or they're doing hikes through the Sierras or the Rockies, and never thought that they could do that only a year or two before.
Yeah, so you just said something really interesting there. They don't want to slow down, but they want to change gears. And can I steal that from you, man? That's like a pretty good catchphrase right there.
You go right ahead.
Okay, well,
But that's
I'm
true,
going.
isn't it? I mean, when we retire, at least for the people that I speak with, as they're entering retirement, they actually pick up speed. They change into a different place. In fact, I was talking to somebody yesterday, asking him about if he has a retirement plan in order. And he said, well, I was talking to a friend of mine. We go out for lunch on a regular weekly basis, and most of them are retired now. And one of them said, when I got retired, I basically just I would wake up and and have nothing on my plate, but by noon I was already behind schedule. So it's just that activities build up, and you start to pursue the things that your career might have stymied or held you back from thoroughly enjoying. And what's the use of having fruits of our labor if we can't reap the benefits?
Yes, very true. Very, very true. And have you heard of that book called Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia?
Yeah, yep, Dr. Attia, very well known in my industry. Yes, and
Oh,
I've flipped through those pages for sure.
oh, really? So, Dr. Peter Attia was a name I had not heard until, I don't know, like 6 weeks ago, maybe. And I got his book and I downloaded the audiobook because I don't read much these days anymore. But I devoured the book really pretty quickly in just a few days listening to it. And one thing that he said really struck me was that like people are looking for like the cure to aging, and there's no drug. It's called fitness. And he also said that really it's never too late to work on improving your fitness and thereby extending both your lifespan and your health span as well, right? Like you can actually potentially, you know, uh, you know, keep vital and have your mind sharp and have energy well into your 80s. What can you tell us about
True.
that in your experience? Have you worked with any people who have maybe like spent their lives eating the standard American diet and sitting on a couch and leading a sedentary lifestyle, and then they hit 60, 65, and then they realize, oh my God, like my A1C levels or whatever are spiking, and like I'm out of breath all the time, and like I just have a lack of energy. Have you actually seen people in that situation been able to like turn their lives around even after 60?
Wholeheartedly is the answer. Yes, I will say that. We have helped individuals get off of blood pressure medication, off of diabetes medication, control their blood sugar, control their cholesterol, and all that. But honestly, Seb, it's not it's not as common as we would hope it would be. The people that you're describing who have lived a sedentary lifestyle for the majority of their life, who have eaten that fast food nation of American diet, are already in the throes of their dis-ease, that unless they have some type of reckoning, some awakening, some kind of come to Jesus moment, they're going to continue down the path that in the short term is comfortable. And comfort is not where change is going to occur. People have to get uncomfortable in order to make a decision to change something that's not working for them. So although yes, I have seen people like that, most of the people that I see now are the ones that already recognized it but just need help and guidance. They know that they'll come in and say they eat healthy, but when you really pick it apart, there's room for improvement. They say they're active, but what they're really doing is just being busy. So there's a difference between being active and being busy. And the majority of the people in our culture were not born in wheelchairs, but very shortly after birth we're placed in wheelchairs, and we find that comfortable. And what I mean by that is you have an automobile, you have an office desk. The chairs that we're sitting in right now to do this podcast most likely have wheels underneath them. These are wheelchairs. And so our bodies will adapt to whatever environment we put them in, whether it's microgravity, whether it's the depth of the ocean or the highest mountain peak, or an office chair. And our bodies will adapt to whatever environment that is. So if we're expecting our bodies to last longer, we need to use them because that's what they were evolved to be doing. They needed to be in motion, they needed to be active. But so many things in our culture make it so much easier for us to survive with food and income and everything else without doing much other than pushing your thumb down on a button. So that's where I'm going.
Yeah, so obviously this is the case, and it's interesting too because like all our lives we're like pitched, like make it easy, like be comfortable, right? I mean, like literally all our lives, this is what we are told is a good thing, and actually it turns out that all of that is dramatically decreasing our quality of lives for the most part. So what you're saying though is that most people who will have spent their lives eating, not necessarily even fast food, but just the typical stuff, right? I mean, like I guess it's fast, but stuff even served in like a slow restaurant, right? I mean, like it a lot of times it's high in fat, high in carbohydrates, high in sugar, right? I mean, like, and 3,000 calories a serving, right? I mean, you're there at like, a Mexican restaurant and you're eating 600 calories worth of chips before you even, start eating your carne asada or whatever, right? I mean, like, so this is how we have basically been raised, and like when people have these kind of events where maybe they have like a heart attack or they have to go on diabetes medication. I mean, like, is this the kind of wake up call that you're talking about? And if you have something like that, like at that point, have you done too much damage to your body, or can you reasonably, like, let's just say that you then decide to get disciplined. Maybe it is a wake up call, and you really say, okay, well, this is it. Screw this. I'm gonna like get healthy. Is it possible even when you've had like that kind of like major health diagnosis or event?
On the whole, I will say yes. And with the caveat that it depends on the individual and each individual case. But on the whole, yes, the body is going to, it's hardwired for perfection. The nervous system wants to be efficient. And that means that if you give it what it needs, it's going to latch onto it. If you feed it what it doesn't really need, well, if that's its only option, that's what it's going to get. The majority of people that you described right now that have had cardiac events, that have had been told by their doctors that you've got this much time to live if nothing changes, if they really listen and they understand, yeah, those are the people that walk through my doors. It doesn't mean everybody is like that, but often is the case that they have come to a point of just bewilderment, if nothing else, that how did I get here? It's been a slow, gradual descent into the maelstrom. And and now they've just walked through this invisible doorway and it's suddenly right at their face going, you need to do something or you're not going to be around. I mean, that's the extreme case. Some people get here well before that. But in essence, yes, exercise, I mean, it's the same old recipe. Nothing's changed. It hasn't changed for decades. The exercise and eat right is not the easiest thing to do. It's simple, but if it were easy, then we would be a nation of highly fit individuals. Instead, somewhere between 60 to 70% of our nation is overweight and obese. And out of that percentage, a higher number these days are obese, meaning that they have gone past just a little bit around the midriff, but now there are ramifications due to their lifestyle choices, whether it's high blood pressure, cholesterol, a coronary artery disease, arthritis, diabetes. You just think of any cancer potentially. There's just so many things that can accumulate when we live a life unaware.
Yeah, and so like I go out in public, and I once in a while like look around. Like oftentimes I'm just spaced out, like like just thinking or whatever, not really paying attention. But then sometimes I'll like be present, and I'll look around, and I'll see this epidemic of obesity that we seem to have going on here. We're really like 2 out of 3 people is like markedly overweight, and I know from reading, Dr. Peter Tia's books and a few other that I've read that really like specifically does carrying around that additional weight is a serious risk, right? Like it's a red flag for like a number of different diseases. What diseases does just being overweight, like let's just say that you somehow ate healthy and you got like a modicum of exercise, what kind of risks are you carrying by just having that extra 30 or 40 pounds?
Well, with that said, there are many people that are larger than the ideal kind of demographic or profile that live very healthy and pain free and free of doctor visit lifestyles. I will say that. However, the high majority of people that tend to be in the category of being overweight or obese, they're most likely going to be borderline diabetic or completely diabetic, which means that their circulation is going to be considerably reduced, especially in their lower appendages. And they may get to a point where if it goes on unattended or really poorly managed, then amputation may not be that far out of the options. You also have with certain diets, you'll have potentially blockage of arteries or blood vessels. So that's going to provide more pressure within the bloodstream itself. And now you are going to require, for most doctors, a prescription medication to reduce your blood pressure, because that could bring about a higher likelihood of cardiac events. And so the high cholesterol potentially could bring about clogged arteries. That would require maybe some type of surgery to remedy that. You could also increase the likelihood of strokes. You could, there's just most of the things that the Western Medical Society prescribes, or just watch any television show on cable and any advertisements that come up, just watch how many are prescription medications. And the majority of those prescription medications that are being marketed toward directly to the consumer are all about pushing off the lifestyle, the effects of the lifestyle that they're leading. Meaning that, hey, there's something going on for your blood pressure, your diabetes, stroke, whatever. There is a pill out there that you can take. And it's very light. You don't have to do any heavy lifting for it. You just have to pay through the insurance company and the prescription companies to continue the lifestyle that you're leading.
Yeah, I got a friend of mine, and I don't know, I'm guessing he's like 65, maybe 66 these days, and he looks great. I mean, like, I don't really, I mean, I know he walks a lot. Like, that's mostly what he does exercise-wise, but he told me he went to the doctor, and, like, he was filling out a form for, like, a routine checkup, and they're like, what medications are you on? And he left it blank, and they came back to him, and they said, you left something off your form here, right? Like, what medications are you on? He's like, I'm not on any medications. And they were shocked, right? I mean, like, it just seems to be like the common thing that doctors do in America is they say, you'll be fine, just take a blood pressure, NSAID, a beta blocker, or whatever. I mean, it seems to me like it's almost kind of like a dereliction of duty in terms of, like, your duty of care to your client, because you're really just covering up a serious health issue by putting these pharmaceuticals into your clients. Do you see? I mean, are there any doctors who will actually do what I would consider the right thing, which would be have like a come to Jesus talk with your client and tell them, hey, listen, like, these are serious problems, or does everybody just say pop a pill in America? There really aren't a special kind of doctor that you can go to that will give you better advice.
There are medical professionals out there, whether they consider themselves functional medicine doctors, osteopaths, homeopathic medicine. Rarely are you going to find a lot of Western trained doctors that are going to fall into the category you're describing, unfortunately. And it's not for any fault of their own. There are some amazing technicians in the world of Western medicine when it comes to orthopedic surgery and emergency trauma care. Yeah, if I get in an accident, there's no place I'd rather be than the emergency room. But when it comes to these other things that we're talking about, the Western medical doctors, as I understand it, do not spend a tremendous amount of time in medical school dealing with how the body functions and how it moves as a whole integrative system. Instead, it's compartmentalized. So you could be a knee specialist or a shoulder specialist. You could focus on one system of the body and only focus on that, whether you're an endocrinologist or you're a pulmonary specialist or you're an arthritis specialist or whatever the case may be. We have compartmentalized and specialized Western medicine to the point where we're thinking that it is not all inclusive, but this one thing is alone, and that's all that we need to solve the issue that somebody walks in the door. And not that the medical colleges are necessarily solely to be pointing a finger at. The insurance industry, as well as the very powerful pharmaceutical industry, have their own interests in mind too. So the system that has now been reinforced over many, many decades in this Western world is one that is all about, I won't say it's preventative care, it's actually post-care. When something happens, here's a pill. Instead of, imagine this, Seb, imagine you and your wife decide to go out on date night. And you say, you know what, honey? I heard about this remarkable new restaurant. A Michelin chef has designed the most healthy, unbelievable menu. And where is it? It's at your local hospital. That's never going to happen, it seems. But wouldn't that be the place where the most healthy nutrients could be found to help bring people into a more healthy place? Instead, would you go to your local hospital's cafeteria for lunch anytime soon?
No, I would not.
It's the
It's full.
last place you think to eat. It
It's
should be
full
the
of
first
garbage, and
place.
all the vending machines, right, are just spewing out garbage and poison.
And so imagine how that is with the medical staff that are employed in those locations. What does that reinforce? So this is an octopus. We're talking about something that there's no one solution. It's gotta be it's gotta be multifaceted. And and so to exercise and eat right, yes, simple, or but again, not easy. We're in a world that is going to require effort to cook the foods that are best suited for your human body as a fuel source. But it's very easy to go out to eat. It's very easy to have somebody else cook. And the majority of restaurants are going to fill with sugar, fat, and salt, the things that are addictive to our brains and addictive to our bodies. So we'll want it more. I mean, there's restaurants on every street corner in every town throughout the country. So, yeah, it slowing down in a nation that prides itself on fast results is really quite difficult. And to try and wrap a client or loved one's head around that concept of to actually improve, in some ways you've got to slow down and take your time.
Right. Well, actually, so I mean, once you hit like 60 and maybe you change careers, you might be able to like slot in a little extra time to like, take care of yourself maybe, whereas before you didn't for whatever reason. But you said something a little while ago. You said a functional medicine doctor. What is a functional medicine doctor?
Well, functional medicine looks at the body as a whole primarily. It's somebody who has been trained in some parts in through the Western world, but have adopted on other philosophies, so that they're not going to be necessarily quick to prescribe just to simply get a patient in and out of their clinic. The the current healthcare system that my wife, myself, and our kids belong to, if you go in to see a doctor, they only have 10 minutes with you, according to their, and I'm not going to name names, but if you get online and have an online appointment, you can get up to 20 minutes. But if you go in person, they can only account for 10 minutes to see you. How much time do you really, like, how much time can you, or information can you share in the course of 10 minutes and feel like you've got comprehensive care? So functional medicine, they spend a lot more time with you. Osteopaths, I think their initial introduction and interview with somebody can go 90 minutes. Like spending an actual hour and a half understanding this person, how they live, what their stressors are like, what their lifestyle is like, what are they eating, how active are they, do they have any cares or concerns or fears, like really actually getting to know the individual as a person and as a separate entity that wants to improve their life, rather than just a treadmill or conveyor system that I've got to meet my quota, and the way I'm going to do that is throw script after script for everybody that walks through the door.
All right. And so then what is an osteopath?
So osteopathic medicine is well, I guess you might compare it to somewhat of chiropractors as well, but they are medical doctors. They are categorized as medical doctors. Doctors of chiropractic. I don't want to misspeak here. They're also doctors. They're just going through a different amount of training and a different style. Osteopathic medicine, they are doctors of osteopathy, and they are looking also at the body as a collection of functioning systems. So they are looking at how one is integrated with another, how one is acting off another, the cause and effect. because your nervous system is the overall governing body of all these systems in your body. And so the digestion is not alone. If you've got digestive issues, it could very well be coming from other systems. It's not exclusive to just your digestive tract. So they look at a whole bunch of different elements to try to get a bigger, broader picture of what the person really needs. Maybe your digestive issues are because of the stress levels. And that ulcer that's forming is because of that. Maybe it's because of the types of foods that you might have allergies to unknowingly. Maybe there's a whole bunch of reasons why you might have issues in one system. But if all I'm looking at is the symptom and not looking at the whole picture, the body as a holistic entity, then I might very well miss it. Now, granted, I must put in a disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm a movement specialist. I have been studying the body for over 30 years, primarily in a field of biomechanics and motor neurology. So when it comes to the things that I've spoken about, I am not highly educated in those fields. And often when it comes to those particular professions, I gladly will outsource my clients to individuals in those departments.
Okay, well, that was my next question. So, like, I don't imagine that osteopath is someone that Blue Cross is going to send you to for a 90-minute intake evaluation. I don't. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm wrong about that. How do you find an osteopath or a functional medicine doctor who I'm guessing is not part of your standard HMO policy, or maybe it is? Is it?
Yeah, you may be surprised. They're becoming integrated into it. In fact, even my profession is slowly, maybe in the next few years, will be able to get insurance coverage through your carriers. There's some bills passing right now, but you might be surprised. I do believe that there are some insurance coverage that will have kind of like a network outside of their preferred that will still be accepted through insurance billing and so on. So the thing to do is just check with your healthcare provider and see what kind of benefits that your policies entail. And then you can always do a Google search for professionals in your area, or for that matter, these days there's teleconferences or how are they, telemeetings, whatever they'll call it, appointments that you can do online where you're not exclusively limited to your geographic region.
Okay, all right, good tip, good tip. So, but those are the words. Functional medicine and osteopath are two good places to start if you are looking to have a doctor who is truly going to be able to like understand the complete body of you, basically.
Yes.
All right,
In
okay.
I would say exactly that.
All right. So, there's a thing on Netflix the other day about The Biggest Loser. Remember that TV show, The Biggest Loser? And it was a three-part episode about what went into that. But you had the trainers, right? Jillian and what's his name, the guy who unfortunately had a heart attack. He's Bob, I guess. He's still around. But he said, the great irony is that like 90% of like losing weight is not about exercise. It's about what you eat, right? And so, but that would make a very good TV show, right? They needed to see people like like killing themselves in the gym. What do you have to say about that? Like, I mean, is it really like losing weight is 90% about caloric restriction or the quality of things that you eat, or what's your insight there?
I don't know about percentages, but I would say that it's very high and somewhere in that neighborhood between 70 to 90%. I usually say 80%, but for no research to back that up, it's just from anecdotal experience in my profession of doing what I've been doing for the number of years I have. Yes, it really is about what you put into your body. The old adage of "you are what you eat" is spot on. If you're going to fuel your engine with poor nutrients, low energy, don't expect to have a Formula One racing craft. However, if you're going to eat clean with proper portion size and frequency and all the things you could probably Google right now, you're going to be in a much better spot. Now, there's going to be aberrations, there's going to be exceptions to every rule. There's going to be people that are battling hormonal imbalances. Their endocrine system is going hog wild, and no matter what they eat, there may not be a change in their body's mass. But that doesn't mean that eating poorly is going to actually improve things. Just having proper clean fuel. Now, for you and I, we live in one of the most glorious places that and I know we're both grateful to be here, but we live on the edge of the salad bowl of the world, which is San Joaquin Valley. And the growth of the agriculture that is there and the organic food that is prevalent in our many, many farmers markets that we have through the week is just, unfortunately, not everybody has the accessibility to such delights. But the fact that we do should give us almost added responsibility to select foods that more often than not are going to go toward building and balancing and creating a longer life, if that's what we're seeking.
Yeah, I think most people probably are seeking that, presuming that they can have a minimum quality of life. All right, so nutrition, very important, and I totally agree with that, and we are very blessed to have that. But I was just in Baltimore, I don't know, like last weekend essentially, and there was actually like, I mean, it was available. Good food was available. I popped into a market for a second. I mean, like there, it had salad there, and it came from California probably. But and actually it was probably cheaper than here. As a matter of fact, everything is cheaper other places than here, turns out. But so in terms of like exercise, which like I think is very important. Like a lot of people, they don't really want to go to the gym. They don't see themselves as gym people, like going in there and like doing squats and crunches and like deadlifting or like all these things they see on TV. What are things that people can do short of actually going to somebody like you and going to a gym, just day to day, that could have a marked improvement on their quality of life?
Well, your friend that is not on any prescription medication should be the poster child. He walks every day. Walking is the one unique human motion. It is something that we have evolved quite well to do, and it's something that restores function to all the systems in our body. Walking helps improve our circulation. It helps to maintain bone density. It helps with our heart and lungs. It helps with digestion. It helps reduce stress. It helps with hormone balancing. Walking is what we need to do. And aside from that, and I don't want to minimize it in any way. In fact, I want to exalt it and put it up on the days and pontificate the benefits of walking till the ends of the earth. I think everybody needs to just walk and develop a very strong walking program progressively if they're not already walking, because that will do so much to your quality of life that I cannot put into words. Also, on top of that, doing something within your community, giving back. Now, this is not necessarily a physical act, but it is a mental and emotional act that will encourage more activity and good things to come in your own life. And I don't think we talk about that very often, but the mental, emotional, spiritual aspect of living as humans and being of service to one another is, if we look at the cultures or societies, the nations that have the highest lifespan, we will see a high propensity to community service. Okinawa is huge. That, I think Okinawans have the highest life expectancy of any culture on the planet. And their diet, yes, it's high in fish, but you could say, well, there's a lot of mercury in fish. Regardless, they have a cleaner diet. And what do? Well, they have a regular Tai Chi practice, or they do martial arts. They do a lot of walking, but they help one another. They're very much into being of service to others. So that could be another element. And today, I mean, there's so many activities at our fingertips that pickleball would be a prime example, one of the fastest growing sports, relatively low intensity depending upon who you're playing against. It's something that you should also progressively get accustomed to and not just jump into any league because your friends are in it, but begin to develop conditioning and fortitude and resiliency to the demands of such things. And that could be tennis, that could be bowling, that could be bocce, it could be, in our world, it could be surfing. Any activity that gets you out and moving. I mean, honestly, yes, people love going to the gym, but gym strength is just supplemental. We have gyms because people don't move enough. So we started putting these pieces of equipment in rooms that people could come into and move these weights up and down because they weren't living on farms anymore. I think the best gym idea would be to join a farm and pay your membership so that it doesn't matter what time of day you go there, you milk the cows, you bale hay, you throw the hay bales wherever they need to go, you move that pile of manure over there, you haul this, you work in the field, and you'll be in great shape. You'll be stronger than the gym rat. I just think, yeah, these gyms are just supplements because it's like, I don't know, taking vitamins because we're not getting the proper nutrients in our diet. Gyms are just getting the proper activities because we don't have it in our day-to-day.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like a couple of years ago, we had those big storms, and the neighbor's tree fell over, and they were partially damaged our fence. And we went to see the neighbor, and the landscaping guys were like cutting up all the wood, right? And I said, like, well, just bring that by my house and just drop it off in my front yard. And my wife's like, no, have them drop it off in the backyard. I was like, no, I want to like pick up these pieces of wood and carry them to my backyard personally. And it took me, I don't know, an hour and a half. It took me a long time, right? You know, but that was very good. That was like a whole body exercise, like bending over, standing up, carrying, right? I mean, like that was a very good workout. So, you know, Rocky, I work out every day. You'll be happy to know. Just about every day anyway. Like 1 hour on my Peloton, and all I do is it's zone two, right? I don't follow the classes. Actually, my Peloton is unplugged. I don't pay them a monthly fee. I just use it like a dumb bike. But I have an Apple Watch here, and that measures my, whatever. And so, and so like I feel great, but I keep on hearing about how like resistance training is very, very important. And I know you do a lot of resistance training. It's like, why is resistance training so important, or is it that important?
Well, I mean, we could find research to back any kind of opinion. There is a lot of research on resistance training that shows a considerable amount of benefit, in terms of bone density, uh, muscular strength, size, circulation, reducing stress, improving cardiovascular function, improving digestion. There's improving balance and just giving you a good overall feeling in terms of your day and goal accomplishment too. We could throw a whole bunch of things in there, but ultimately, whether it's resistance training or any activity, if we just do it on a regular basis, I think that's the main goal. That's the primary goal. And if people would like some resistance training, it will give you the benefits that I just listed. But also, being on a bike every day for an hour and a half is better than, we can even put in that phrase, better than dot dot dot. I think variety is wonderful. I'll cut to the chase there. And I think that if people have variety in their life and they strive to every now and then get outside of their comfort zone, I think that would be so much more beneficial than selecting one particular exercise over another. I mean, we've got so many to choose from in this nation. It's ridiculous. There's spin classes, there's yoga, tai chi, resistance training, all forms of martial arts. We've got mixed martial arts. There's wrestling. There's pickleball. There's everything you can imagine. We have The trouble is just doing it.
Yeah, that is the trouble. And I will say that while I feel great, I remember when, because full disclosure, I used to go to Rocky's gym, very famous gym around here, and I felt really great working out with you guys, right? I mean, and I was always like like the laggard of the bunch, right? All these superheroes were out there doing these amazing, high impact, right, and circuit training, and I did feel great, and you also look great, right? So I mean, if people want to have that kind of just sheer energy, I mean, isn't strength training really kind of essential for that, or not so much? Just walk more.
Strength training is important, but okay, I guess I'll go full disclaimer or prepare the listening audience for my soapbox rendition here. Is
Yes,
that
give it to
the
us. Let's hear
way,
it.
okay, Western world, where did we get our exercises from? I don't think many people stop and pause and think about where did these machines or exercises in the gyms come from? Because if they did, they may reconsider. And the thing is that most gym exercises are borrowed from three competitions: from bodybuilding, which is all about hypertrophy, the increasing of size and definition within a muscle, for competing on stage in baby oil and a Speedo bikini and tanning solution, right? It's all about the superficiality of increasing muscle size. And then the other two competitions are powerlifting, which these days are three competitive lifts: the bench press, the squat, and the deadlift. How much can I lift off the ground or push off of my chest? It's just brute force, any way you can, any shape or form. Like whoever lifts the most wins. And then we've got Olympic style weightlifting, which, if you're in our age range, you're probably thinking of the Bulgarians and Romanians in the Summer Olympics with their leotards on, throwing enormous amounts of weight up over their head and then letting them go and crashing. Like, that is all about how much can I just explode off the ground with weights in my hands. But what that does is that it doesn't consider human function and what true health is. Now, we already spoke about osteopathy. We brought in chiropractic. I think I just mentioned yoga and martial arts. We can even bring in massage therapy. All of those disciplines have a fundamental philosophy that if we bring the body into a more balanced, aligned perspective, acupuncture too, if we bring the body into a more balanced place, then the body's going to function better. All systems are going to be more efficient and function to a higher level. So the Western world of strength and conditioning and the gym exercises aren't taking that into consideration. We're just producing force in the hopes of building stronger bodies. But there's certain exercises, like if you were a gym goer, there's going to be exercises that you're really good at, so you're going to do them more. And that means that those areas are going to be developed over the areas that you're not really that proficient in. And so now you're building this imbalance and muscle tension that pulls you out of alignment. So most of today's fitness programs, no matter if you see them on YouTube or in the magazines or wherever, most of the programs that are developed are based on the three competitive sports or competitions, and they're not going to be drawing you back into a place where your body's going to function better. In fact, you'll most likely start developing some itises. You're going to have tendonitis or bursitis. Your lower back's going to start to bug you, or your knee's going to start to tweak a little bit for no apparent reason. I didn't hit it, but this morning I woke up and it's kind of bothering me. So now I can't do squats. And now people start to paint themselves in corners because the exercises unknowingly are drawing them out of alignment, creating compensations, creating wear and tear and inflammation. And then they go to see those doctors we spoke of, and they're going to prescribe them anti-inflammatories and rest, but without looking at what the underlying cause was. So, not to put myself any higher than anybody else, but the programs we develop here are based on where an individual's resting posture is and how they move through space. So we utilize where their posture is and their gait mechanics to get an understanding of what is missing in their movement library, in their strength areas, in their mobility or flexibility, and we design a more comprehensive program to bring the body back into balance so that the people that walk in here with shoulder pain or hip problems or low back pain, suddenly they're not talking about it anymore. It's actually, they're not even thinking about it. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know the last time I thought about my hip. I'm doing all these things, and it's not, I'm not waking up in the middle of the night. So there's my soapbox, brother. Sorry about that.
No, that was perfect. And so, because I think that is what, like, not knowing anyone's individual case, I mean, that sounds to me like the prescription for getting your life into balance, but not everyone can come and see you. And so, because, you're in California and this is a very big country, how do people find people like you? I mean, like, or do you have like a telecourse, because there's like Apple Fitness and stuff like that. I mean, like, what are the options for people if they want to try and like get into balance physically like this?
Well, also during COVID, when I had a little bit of downtime because the administration was thinking that we were, how would you say, it's non-essential, even though I still have a hard time thinking the liquor stores and dispensaries and donut shops were. But nonetheless, we had to close our doors, so I started writing. And I was thinking of rewriting a book for surfers, but it turned into something completely different. And the title is Return to Center, Strength Training to Realign the Body, Recover from Pain, and Achieve Optimal Performance. So I've got a book. It's in print, but it's also ebook version. I've got literally hundreds upon hundreds of videos on my YouTube channel, but I also see people online. So I have online clients all across the country, and as long as we speak the same language, or maybe they will need an interpreter, but I can basically work with somebody online as well as in person. That doesn't slow it down. But there are, if you're looking for people in your area, it's important that you interview them and find out what their perspective is. How do they create programs to bring you back into a more aligned position? I mean, chiropractic medicine isn't all that old. It's only about 130 plus years old, but it's got some fundamental science that backs it up. Granted, there's a whole bunch of people that practice it that probably shouldn't, but there are some very astute individuals that are very good at their craft. Just like any other practice, whether it be legal or Western medicine or anything else, you could find somebody that's chicanery and quackery, but you could find some of the most brilliant minds at the same time. So to scoff at or to discount one particular philosophy or approach, you would be doing yourself a disservice. So actually looking at the individual, whether it's a chiropractor or an osteopath, they might have a good network of fitness professionals that they rely on. And so that might be something if you're already seeing somebody in that nature.
Yeah, well, there are mediocre rocket scientists also, right? So that's very true. So okay, so but you, so how do they find you? Like if they like someone's watching this video, like that guy Rocky's got it going on. How do they get a consultation with you?
Well, they can go to my website, which is rockysnyder.com, Snyder. They can follow me on Instagram, just do a search for my name there. Heck, they could probably just do a search on Google with my name, Rocky Snyder, and I would appear. I do travel for different regions of the country, giving workshops and lectures and presentations. I offer continuing education, but it isn't exclusively just restricted to fitness or health or medical professionals. It could be anybody that's interested in improving their lifestyle. So, and then they can just reach out through the website, email me that way. We offer a complimentary consultation, which could be over the phone or in person, depending on where you are, and then just give you an understanding of the type of services we offer.
All right, that is amazing. And also, Rocky, I understand that you have a pretty big podcast as well. Can you tell us about that?
You're too kind. Thank you. Yes. So if you're kind of a sports fan, but you like behind the scenes and how things are made, so to speak, then this would be it. It's the Zealous Podcast, Zelos. Zealous Podcast airs every Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. And my weekly guests are the physical therapists, the athletic trainers, performance directors, strength coaches, dietitians, nutritionists, mental skills coaches, all of those stakeholders that make up the medical and training staff of professional sports teams and for that matter NCAA Division I teams. So if you want to know what's going on behind teams in the NHL, the NBA, Major League Baseball or soccer or the NFL, this is where you can listen in. So every week it's about 45 minutes to an hour. I have a nice organic conversation just like we did with a whole bunch of my colleagues that are in professional sports.
Well, that sounds absolutely fantastic, and I am going to add that to my regular podcast list. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I want to tune in for that one for sure. Now, we got to wrap things up here, but before we go, so Rocky, you're 57, 58 very soon. Do you anticipate like doing this kind of work that you're doing into your 60s and 70s and maybe even beyond, or what do you think the 60s are going to hold for you?
Well, no pill boxes. That's so far so good. I'm on that track with your friend, and I would love to surf in various places around the world and maintain that passion quite well. And if I can blend it in with traveling and educating and training at the same time, I would love that. I think that at this stage of doing this for over 30 years, I have a little bit of a different calling, and that is for the younger generation that is coming into our profession. I really want to train and mentor them so that it's great to act locally, but I do like thinking globally, and the type of programs that I described earlier about realigning posture and using exercise to do that, to mitigate pain and to achieve performance, it's not something that is commonplace, and I would like it to be commonplace. So not that I want to create an army of fitness professionals, but it sure would be nice if they considered this at least as an option.
All right, so it sounds like you have some pretty big plans still for your 60s and maybe beyond.
Oh, I will not go silently into that good night. Yeah, I want to be surfing into my triple digits. So I have no plans. Like I say, I'm not going to slow down, but I might switch gears here pretty soon.
Right, all right. I love it. All right, Rocky, hey, thank you so much for joining me here today on the podcast. I really appreciate it. It has been a pleasure, and I will catch you on the flip side.
Thanks, Seb. I appreciate it back.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode of 60 Plus Uncensored. Huge thanks to Rocky Snyder for setting the tone with such honesty and insight. Hey, if you like this episode, do me a favor, do Rocky a favor. Hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and then share it with someone you know who needs to hear it. And by the way, if you know anyone over 60 who's still doing big things, living boldly, working with purpose, or aging on their own terms, I would love to hear from you. Just reach out at team60plus.com or join the conversation on 60 Plus Uncensored on Reddit. I'm Seb Fry, and this is 60 Plus Uncensored, because as we're learning, life after 60 isn't the end, it's just getting good.
Subscribe now.